Hello, everyone. I'm really excited about giving this talk. First, because Sebastian has just given me a perfect theme about my work too, and also this is the perfect audience with both expert from ecology and evolution side of the world. So really excited to present my work about theory of ecological invasions and how it relates to eco-evolutionary dynamics. I'm Zhijie, by the way. That's my name in Chinese, and you can call me Sarah from Boston University, working with Pankaj method. So I start from very beginning of why eco-evolution matters. So when we first learn about evolution, we often start with picture of giraffes and trees. The giraffes have different lengths of necks, and because of natural selection, when there's a stress for them to compete for survival, eventually you see the giraffes with longer neck survives. That's the usual story here. But I would say the reasons for the trees to be tall in the environment for giraffes is that the trees might feel a pressure from the giraffes too. So the fitness of trees also depends on the giraffes, and the giraffes depends on the tree. So that's an element of ecology already in this simple picture. So traditionally, when people think of evolution, they like to think about a well-defined fitness landscape. That means for giraffes, you could put them phenotypes on a space, and having a longer neck is like the top of the peak of this landscape in this environment. So the assumption here is the environmental change is very slow compared to the giraffes, which could be true in their environment. But modern ecology has shifted attention to different types of ecology. For example, the microbiome. And yesterday, I think we have heard a talk about cancer ecology. That's another type of highly dynamical environment. So in this type of environment, the community is a part of the environment. Like this AI-generated figure has like microbes being the mountain and climbing the mountain. So every step it climbs, the mountain changes. So on the other hand, for ecology, people often think of models, like this example is a consumer resource model that are coupled ODEs. So each species has its own ODEs. They are coupled to other species they're interacting with. So there is no explicit fitness function, but there is a sense of fitness in the sense that there will be extinction, and also the population will change, like will varies. The only problem is there's no evolution at all. So we want to introduce evolution to this type of models. So this is our goal, building a bridge from ecology to evolution. So there are types of challenges. The first thing I think is most important is there will be extinctions. So a lot of theories, mathematical theories or physical theories, doesn't think about extinctions. And that makes the thing hard, because if you think of like a perturbation theorem, extinction makes something like a drastic change instead of like smooth change. That will be the first impression of people have with extinctions. Secondly, there are different types of ecological models. Some of them are linear, some of them are nonlinear, and we really wish to have a framework that works for all of the models. So we state some of the assumptions we made here, but they will be relaxed. And we basically say them here so we know what to be relaxing in the future. So first, we assume this is a strong selection, weak mutation regime, which means the mutation rate is very slow. So ecological dynamics always reaches a steady state before a new mutation happens. Secondly, each invasion or mutation that leads to a small perturbation to the system. For example, you don't want one thing that killed all the system, then this perturbation idea won't work. So this is like a context of our theory. So when there's an invasion, we think of three different quantities we want to predict. First, it's not quantity, but like what's the identity of the extinct species? Like what's going to be survive, what's going to be extinct? The second is the abundance of the invader. And the third is the abundance shift to the surviving species. So now I show you like a general setup of the theory. So when we think of a general ecological model, we can usually write them into a fact-verse part about extinction and about surviving. It will be more concrete when I show you example. But for example, this extinction part is simply X in most models. For example, Lactobacterra, it just makes sure that if the abundance reaches 0, it doesn't grow again. And then we want to do a linear perturbation theory to the steady state instead of the dynamics. So we want to see what's the linear response to environmental perturbations. So instead of taking like a linear expansion of the whole dynamics, we only take the surviving part, take the derivative of it, and that's defined like the A matrix here. So if for Lactobacterra, that A matrix is exactly the interaction matrix between species. And finally, the most important part, I think, in this picture is we need to separate extinct species and invader separately. And also, when we talk about this susceptibility matrix, we need to think about only the surviving things, because the extinct species can be brought to life just by environmental perturbations. So the result of this framework is just two sets of self-consistency equations. This is the invader abundance. This is the shift to the community. And also the index S and E is the knowledge about what's going to be extinct and survive. So how we solve this equation will depend. We use the iterative approach that we first assume just everything survives, and we find out, oh, some of the shift makes some abundance negative, then we change our knowledge of surviving extinct again. So with a few rounds of this iterative approach, we can find out all the knowledge we want to know about this the invasion. So we validate this approach by simulation. The first example is Lactobacterra. It's extremely easy in the sense that this model, the surviving part of this model is really linear. Like the perturbation is the exact solution. So that's also reflect on this plot. You can see it's almost perfect. I'm showing both like on the confusion matrix, I'm showing whether it gets the surviving and extinct state correctly. If it's on the diagonal, then it's correct. And on this type of plot, I'm showing the numerical values of the abundance. So I also can do the same for a consumer resource model. So if you have think about it, actually consumer resource model is almost like a Lactobacterra model with block structures. So it's also a linear model. The only difference is there's more feedbacks from the resource. If you think of invasion, just an invader of consumer. So this time there's a little bit more noise, but the result's still really good. The third example is probably the most interesting among these three. So this model is called microbial consumer resource model. This model is like, I would say it's like a simplest idea of cooperation where the microbes makes byproducts and they can like accidentally support other microbes in the environment. So this model, if you look at the resource dynamics, is slightly nonlinear. So we can actually make use of the perturbation theory, calculate the susceptibility matrix, and do the predictions. This time, as expected, there's more noise because this is inherently a perturbation theory instead of an exact solution, but it works pretty well. So one important feature of this framework is that it doesn't depend on the structure of the community. So for example, after evolutions, usually there will be some correlations generated in the community. There will be structures in their interactions. I'm plotting here like the species-species correlation, like for assembled community and for evolved community. But this framework doesn't care about the structure of this A matrix at all. So it will work the same way as it worked before. Finally, I think maybe some of the data overlaps with Sebastian's data. Actually, there's plant and herbivore and ciliated protist data. We did a very trivial test of the theory to this type of data. So this data are already more fitted to Lotto-Terra model. So we just want to know how robust is this theory relative to noise. So when they take different combinations of the subsystem of the ecosystem, and we treat it like the smaller system is like one invasion step away from the larger system. And then we try to predict the larger system with a smaller system. So this is how it works. The error bar will be like from the replicates of the experiment itself. So we also have a lot of interpretation from the theory. The first thing is under this type of perturbation, we can split the effect of direct invader effect and the induced extinction effect. And we just find a cute example that for competitive Lotto-Terra, having extinct competitors is always like a positive effect, but consumer resource is not necessarily. Like it could be both ways because of the more complicated resource feedbacks. And this one is probably the most interesting at all. It's really, I call it just invasion fitness, but it's actually also the same as invasion growth rate. Usually invasion fitness is defined as the initial growth rate when the invader is first introduced into the system. And we find out when we calculate the abundance of invader, there is a natural quantity pop-ups, that is the invasion fitness divided by a quantity that interpreted the community feedbacks. So we also look at if we plot the invader abundance versus invasion fitness and invader abundance versus stress invasion fitness, you can see it's much more correlated to the stress invasion fitness. So the result I've showed you before is already like in an archive paper, but this is an unpublished result that we're extremely excited about, and we're really extremely excited to share it with this audience. So we start to think about what if we have demographic noise? What if we think about this as like more like a population genetics picture? And we focus on like the dynamics of the fraction of the mutant versus the total abundance of mutant and parent. So there will be like basically three parts of the system: the community, the parent, and the mutant. So we find out that in the classic population genetics, there is a Kimura's formula for fixation probability. And the formulas look like that. It depends on the fitness difference between mutants and parents. But we try to generalize this calculation to this population genetics with ecology model. Now we find out there's like a formula with a similar structure, similar variables, but turns out the stress invasion fitness difference appears in it. And depends on how much ecological effect is there compared to the demographic noise effect. You will see, let me show this next plot. You will see if there's less ecology and higher noise, you will see it almost collapse with the Kimura's classic formula. But for a higher noise, higher ecology effect, you will see it differs pretty much. It's pretty different. The Kimura formula will be especially obvious when you look at like neutral selection. When there's ecology, it means usually there is no neutral selection. It's a strong selection limit. But for Kimura's formula, we assume it's the initial fraction of the mutant. So in conclusion, we developed a theory for ecological invasions. This theory is perturbative. It's applicable to a lot of models. we validated this prediction a little bit with empirical data sets. And we introduced the stress invasion fitness idea that accounts for ecological feedback. And we believe it's very crucial to link ecology and evolution. So this is the manuscript. Finally, I want to thank all the co-authors, collaborators, and the group members of my group. Thank you very much, and very excited about questions.
Yes, you have time.
Yeah, so I'm curious, this last result with the fixation probability, I'm thinking of this work that John has done where he found that actually the mutant and the parent coexist some fraction of the time. So I'm trying to think about how that fits in with the idea.
I see. Yeah, I agree. Like if you simulate, so when we define this fixation probability, we kind of avoided that thing because eventually if you have noise, everything will die. So in the simulation, what we did is we just simulate up to a point that things stop coexist, and we remove things that still, like we just simulated in the range that coexistence, like a long time coexistence is not happening.
Good time for another question.
I think you addressed invasion fitness. It's basically assuming invasion by a single species. Have you thought about like?
Oh, I have thinking about multiple species actually.
Yeah.
So when I show that result, it's in the denominator. If it's multiple species, we will see like it will be a matrix inverse instead of a denominator. But yeah, it's like the model itself could accommodate that, but we haven't studied it a lot, but we are very interested about that.
You can do another one too.
Let's get another one. So you had this cool iterative approach for finding this solution. So I guess my question is, how do sort of multiple steady states fit in with that? Can you find multiple steady states with different initializations? Or?
Yeah, we want to know about that a lot. I might guess it's very speculative. It's maybe if it's a small perturbation, maybe it might tell you which next steady state it will brings to you, but I don't know. That's one of thing I want to study, like how does this framework fit to a multi-stability picture?
All right, let's thank Sarah again.